So here's all of my history of the Haunted Mansion product. I went to Disney when I was like 2 years old, so I remember going to the park. I would love to go back one day, but I don't believe I rode the Haunted Mansion ride. My mom says I did, but the thing is, I do not remember a single thing of that memory. Now, I also really like this movie. I have reviewed this movie before, and I really enjoy it because it's a family-friendly movie that's pulling punches while showing dark imagery and being scary. I appreciate this movie a lot. And now we're in 2023, and we have a reboot, so let's just see what they can bring us.
Here's Johnny!
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates.
Expecto Patronum!
Haunted Mansion stars LaKeith Stanfield, Owen Wilson, Rosario Dawson, and Tiffany Haddish, and is by a single mom named Gabby hires a tour guide, a psychic, a priest, and a historian to help exorcise her newly bought mansion after discovering it's inhabited by ghosts. Disney is celebrating its 100 years on every logo they release in a movie this year, and so we have a brand new Haunted Mansion movie. Again, I don't know a lot about the ride, I just know it's like really old and a lot of people love it. I would love to visit one time. I would love to ride it. I love scary stuff. I love horror movies. And so when it comes to horror movies and children, there are movies out there that actually bridge the line of like, hey, your kids can watch it, and it's also gonna scare you, but kids can watch it. I think a prime example is a few years ago, A House with a Clock in Its Walls, the Goosebumps show and movie. I would even say Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. All movies I enjoy and I think kids could watch while entertaining the scary, spooky feeling. Then there's this movie. This movie is something else because I wasn't excited for this movie. I wasn't jumping up and down, but like I was giving it a chance because I'm a horror guy. I love this kind of stuff. This movie was horrible. Absolutely dog crap, in my opinion. This was a rough watch. For 2 hours, I sat in this theater. There was 3 times I almost got up. The third time, I got in my chair, walked down to the alley thing, and sat there and watched the movie standing there. And I was like, I'll just finish it. I almost left. Now let's start with the positives. I think LaKeith Stanfield is a very good actor, and this movie deals with grief of his character after losing a loved one. That alone, that subject matter, was really cool to see in this movie, especially for a Disney brand movie. I really appreciate them doing that, and his character lost somebody that he loved, and every time there's a flashback, every time it is brought up in the scene, the scenery, the music, it just changes to where it's so much better. Like, his performance is so much better. It's really dramatic, and it's such a great thing for kids to see. Like, grief is a thing. Loss is a thing that we all go through. Some people at young age, old age, it doesn't matter. I loved those scenes. Like, loved. Like, I was like, man, this is some good stuff. And then there's stuff about a divorce and about this little kid and his dad's relationship, and that entire conversation is so dramatic and so important that I feel like as a character and kids watching this movie, and anyone watching it, they could connect with it. Also, the production design, I think it's very good. When there's not CGI, it's basically a nice product of this house. Again, I bet there's a lot of Easter eggs in the entire ride. I wouldn't know him, but just watching the movie, I was like, this is some good production design. And that's about it. Because, like I said, I found this movie a rough watch. Biggest issue, CGI. Listen, CGI can be really good. And this is a $200 million Disney movie. This CGI looked unfinished in a lot of scenes. A lot. And there was so much going on screen, it took me out of the movie. Like, the original 2003 Eddie Murphy version, that zombie scene in the cemetery, that was prosthetics and makeup, and it was actually scary. This has none of that. None of that. There is nothing scary about this movie. And I know it's saying, it's a kid's movie, it's a Disney ride. I understand that. But you're trying to add fear. You're trying to give your kids a little heartbeat, like a little like, ooh, this is spooky. There's none of that in this movie. It's boring. It's a 2-hour movie with some of the worst pacing of the entire year. Because I grabbed my phone, I was like, how much longer? It was only on for 40 minutes. It was only on for 40 minutes. And I was sitting there saying, oh my god. Because everything in this movie is rushed. Every single scene is rushed. Build-ups of scary stuff, tension building like in scary movies, none of that. It's just boom, 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 next scene, next scene, next scene, next scene. It's just going at a fast pace and it never breathes. The jokes, this movie is trying to be way more funny and way more comedy while also doing a bunch of brand deals with Burger King, CVS, Costco. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because this script is trash. The dialogue is so on the nose you can predict every single line coming. It is horrible dialogue. And besides those dramatic scenes, we have a cast. We have Danny DeVito. I love Danny DeVito. Every single actor in this movie was horrible. I'm gonna say it. No one was good in this movie. No one. Except the dramatic scenes. That felt real and genuine. And the flashback stuff with LaKeith Stanfield. That stuff was good. Everything else, I felt like they were acting. There's such a difference between character acting and character working. When you're looking at a movie and you're like, you're acting, that's a problem. I think everyone in this movie was horrible. Hell, Jared Leto is our main bad guy. I don't, like, did he come in for a day? Or did he do the CGI face and the voice is not his? I don't believe it is. I mean, it's a villain. It's a cliche bullshit villain. But the movie never intrigues me with this story in this haunted mansion. It never does. It has great production value, but the comedy is cringe. There's a difference between comedy not landing and there's comedy that cringes you. This movie is full of cringy dialogue, cringy jokes, and when Jamie Lee Curtis shows up, this horrible CGI bowl, and she's literally like talking about like, send me $3 for you to tell me this story, and I'm like, oh, this is such a thing. It's like, what? Like, this is so stupid. And it's trying to be family friendly. I get it. But for me, I was cringing and almost left 3 times. This movie is horrible. There is some horrible editing too. There's a scene where LaKeith Stanfield is having a dramatic scene. It's cutting to everyone's reaction shot. When his shot alone could hit that emotion so much more harder, and it's not, the movie's not letting that happen. I think there's some poor directing choices, horrible CGI, horrible jokes. I will say the entire grief aspect is good in this movie. Like, really good. Like, good-ass stuff. But besides that, this movie was a drag for me to get through. It was horribly paced, not funny at all, not scary at all, not even spooky. This is one of the worst movies I have seen this year. I'm going to give Haunted Mansion a D. Now, I have not watched or read any video reviews yet, but all I can say is if I feel different about this movie and you really, really enjoy it and you thought it was a great time, good family kid movie, that's awesome. Seriously, if people out there who have kids, you could go watch this movie. I don't think they'll get scared. I think there's some fun to be had, but I'm just saying, I think this movie could have been way better. Way better. Like, I mean 10 times better. But I can recommend all the movies I did earlier in this video. Like, go watch them. Go watch the original Goosebumps series. That alone is fun, cheesy, and gives you spooky enough that you're like, your kid could get intrigued. Let him read the books. Just this movie, in my opinion, like, this was horrible. I really almost left. I should have left. I could have left because it was a very predictable movie. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this movie review. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.